Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining us today. We welcome you to our online book club, Reading River. Every week we go live right here on YouTube to chat about a few chapters. No spoilers ahead of schedule, no pressure, just good books and great conversation. Whether you're a longtime reader or you're just getting started, you are welcome here. Now, this genre for this group is called Noire because we will be covering books written from Black authors. The book that we're reading today is called God is a Black Woman, and this is from Dr. Christina Cleveland. Now, last week we did something amazing. We knocked out chapters 5 and 6, and we're about to knock out 7 and 8. Y'all, we are getting through this book. I'm super excited. To be honest, I think we're going to be able to wrap this up pretty quickly as well. I can't believe it. We're knocking this out. And now I do want to introduce the panel tonight. First, we got Sheen, we got Debbie, we may have Toya coming up, and then we got me, Nene. I do want to go ahead and get into that chapter 7. Now, because I may go over this a little bit brief. Let me know if there's parts of this that you guys wanted to sink your teeth into a little bit. Because I may be going through this a little bit quickly, okay? Now, this chapter is entitled, She Whose Thick Thighs Save Lives. I'm kind of happy to go ahead and get into the start of this because it actually sounds like this is the start of the breakthrough, which I have been waiting on. It has been a long time coming. But I know a change can come and I'm happy about it. It sounds like, though, that she starts off in year of 2013. But she starts off talking about the murder of Trayvon Martin. What's interesting, I guess maybe to me, and you ladies can let me know, is that around that time, I can remember everything that I was doing around that time. It's almost like one of those questions where people may ask you, what do you remember where you were on like 9/11? Like this, I remember everything about around, and I don't know if that meant anything to you because, you know, that case with Trayvon Martin may have resonated with you. I know some people have sons, and, you know, you feel free to let me know. But it sounds like around this time, she was also a frontline activist and scholar. And to be honest, when that poor baby died, I was in my activist bag too. I remember signs and everything. I didn't know if it kind of meant the same thing to you ladies. I wanted to ask you before going into the subject. Did that kind of resonate with you as well, or?
I think for myself, reading about that, you putting it into that light. Yeah, once again, I don't think that anybody can ever remember, or ever forget, or at least let me just speak for myself. I could never forget as well, Nene, about, where I was at, when that went down, what was happening during the trial, and more importantly, once the verdict was kind of read.
Yeah,
Because
that was a
as
lot.
she explained, as you will explain, but she kind of went into it. Our generation, like generations before us, kept hearing, well, it just gets better. Race relationships, this gets better. Well, and it it really doesn't. It's basically rinse, recycle, repeat.
Yeah,
So to remember kind of like where you were at for that and how she goes into that, absolutely. I can't I you yeah, I agree with you on that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, as a mother of two sons, I will honestly say that those actions during those times kind of like I won't say were placed on the back burner, but all I can remember is wanting to be closer to them and protect them more.
Yeah.
And that's what I remember more so than the hearing of the verdict, because unfortunately my mindset in this world today is that's how it is and that's how it will always be. And we just got to do what we have to do to protect our own.
Yeah, I agree with you, ladies. That resurrected some feelings too. I mean, yeah, I absolutely agree because that was a lot going on, and that was very unfortunate. And you're right, it does feel like when people say nothing new under the sun, it's one of those things that, like you said, rinse and repeat. You know, and those feelings, I don't know. Yeah, yeah. So,
It changes your perspective when you become a mom, because I'll go back to, like, for instance, with Rodney King. I
mm,
remember exactly where I was when the verdict was
right.
read.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, versus now that I'm a mom and hearing these cases and the verdicts being read, it's totally different for me. I remember I just want to be with my children. I want to be with my boys.
yeah.
You know,
That would
which
have
is
a different
which is
perspective.
crazy. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
that would be a different perspective. Thank you for sharing that, ladies.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting that she starts off with this, and this is the start of her awakening.
Yeah, it is. I'm excited for it though. If like I said, it feels like it's been a long time coming, so I'm real here for it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It sounds like she said, she was in her, she's an activist and a scholar. She even talks about how this movement is like amplified for the Black Lives Matter. She sounds like she was also with the Black Lives Matter demonstration protest up in Minneapolis. It looks like the Mall of America, the Saturday before Christmas of 2014. She even talks about, and this is on page 98, that she pulls her students in closer to me in an attempt to comfort them and to increase the distance between us and the stormtrooper police. So it sounds like she's also in a protest trying to make sure, the students are going to, safe while they're protesting as they have their right to. Then she also mentions, though, that she's still binging at this time. And it sounds like this is the cusp of the breakthrough, right? So now I'm on page 99, and I'll start reading a couple of notes from there. She says, my whole life, I had thought binging was about controlling my body in order to be desirable, worthy of love. But as my mindfulness, meditation practice deepened, I began to connect the dots that binging was my lifelong go-to for fear management. She also goes into saying that whether it is the fear that no one will ever marry me or the fear of anti-black police brutality, I compulsively turn to food. And after 3 gruesome decades of binging, fasting, and excessive exercise, my mindfulness practice uncovered a cause and effect relationship. Clutching my still throbbing stomach with one hand, I used my other hand to peck out a desperate middle of the night Google search on compulsive eating and spirituality. The first search result was an upcoming food and spirituality retreat only 20 miles from my house, so I grabbed my credit card and registered. She also talks about how she met a young lady there named by the name of Elsa. She said that the story resonated with her. And after she, being Elsa, spoke, Dr. Chris says, I approached her and impulsively blurted out, whatever it is you have, I want it. And Elsa tells her, you absolutely can have it. You have everything you need to heal, and it's already in you. You just have to find it. And then Elsa invites her to a compulsive food behavior recovery program. And I attended my first meeting with her the following day. She also goes into this next part, which I thought was a breakthrough. I'm still on page 100. She's talking about her lectures. She says, after I completed my lectures, which essentially employed the most non-black audience of global leaders to give a care about black people, I returned to my hotel and realized for the first time that this is what I do for a living. Trying to persuade white people to care about me. Mic drop. I said, I said, we're getting through, Dr. Chris. We're cooking. We're cooking, Dr. Chris. We're cooking. She says, my entire career was built on the dehumanizing practice of whimsically and eloquently presenting an argument for my humanity in the hopes that people under the spell of white male God would maybe one day, hopefully, possibly, potentially, wake up and care. Somewhere along the line, I have been taught that in order to be human, I needed to convince white people that I'm human. She also goes through that part of the chapter by saying, somewhere along the line, I have been taught that justice can only be accomplished if white people are involved. And somewhere along the line, I had been taught that it was my work to convince white people to affirm my humanity. So I'm excited. I'm excited. She's getting to it. We're cutting through. She even starts to talk about how she calls it a holy audacity, where she does this mindful meditation on page 103. I won't go all into it, but she starts to convince herself that she says, I have the right to a relationship with the divine that is self-divine and self-guided. She also talks about making peace with her body. And this is a part that I like. I'm on page 104. And she says, the belief that the source of my validation exists outside of me had sent me begging from validation from my dad, random guys, and even a supposedly unconditionally loving God. But once I specified my own higher power, I realized that I can choose anything because I don't need other people to validate my choices. I can validate my own choices. And just like that, I validated my description of the sacred black feminine. And I'm glad she touched on that because I think when we talked about chapter 5 and 6, the main thing that we were talking about was that how her dad was teaching her about basically begging and yearning for his validation, which was only going to lead for her to just transfer that to another man and so on and so on.
Right.
So, now, before I keep moving, did anybody want to touch on anything? Because I think we're cooking through these chapters. So, anybody? Okay.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, neither do I. No.
Cool. All right. Let's see. And I think, so she ends. I told you she's going to be able to knock this out quick. So she ends by what she's talking about her meditations. She says that I'm black and I'm beautiful, I said to her. She repeats louder and to no one in particular. And that's how she ends the chapter. When I'm excited for her. I'm like, let's get it. And then I think the chapter 8, I even liked even better, right? So now we're at chapter 8. The Machiavellian Monster, White Male God's Liturgy of Fear. I don't think I said that right. But she talks about when she was 6 years old, okay? She says when she was 6 years old, I learned what happened to women who make their own choices. She talks about how she thought this was a happy moment, but when she saw the pastor bring his daughter up, but it wasn't a happy moment. It was a scarlet moment, a scarlet letter moment. The pastor brings the daughter up basically and then confesses to the whole church that the daughter is pregnant. The daughter says, the pastor basically tells the congregation, and according to Dr. Chris, it was thousands in this congregation, but the pastor goes into saying how he's failed because his daughter is pregnant. She goes into saying, and I'm on page 111, that the young woman stood alone in her shame in front of thousands of congregants who now had the knowledge of her most intimate behaviors. She said that seemed cruel to me, and as I witnessed it, I reflectively clenched and curled my body into a defensive pose. I felt unsafe in the church, the very place I was supposed to feel safe. That part kind of stood out to me too, because I think when we were talking about in like the first chapters, we were talking about why she may feel safe in these spaces. And it was almost like even at 6 years old, she had that reckoning to say when this young woman was basically shamed like Game of Thrones, and because she, her and the boyfriend or whatever got pregnant, that she knew even at that time of being 6 years old that she felt unsafe in this church. She knew that it was already cruel, and she said that, and I'll end the quote again. She said, "I felt unsafe in the church, the very place that I was supposed to feel safe." But then it gets even more a little interesting. I don't know how you guys took it, but I'm sorry, I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm just like, I'm thinking in my head, man, that's a shame. It sounds like the doctor who looked at the girl, the daughter,
Told her business.
girl, told everything, came over to the parents' house, her parents being Dr. Chris's parents. She says, later we lunched with a fellow congregant who was also a physician. She said, when my mother commented on the events of the service and the young woman's pregnancy, the doctor couldn't resist sharing a bit of juicy gossip. You see, the father pastor had asked the doctor to examine the young woman. During the examination, the gossip doctor discovered that the young woman's hymen was still fully intact, concluding that she had not actually been penetrated. When the gossip doctor and the father pastor interrogated the young woman, she admitted that she had been fooling around with her boyfriend and that they hadn't engaged in full intercourse. Sorry, I'm not laughing because it's funny. The gossip doctor was more than happy to regale us with both his juicy tidbit as well as his expert medical opinion. I guess they were just semen flying around and some of it got inside her and impregnated her. Now, first of all, I could have sworn doctor-client or doctor-patient confidentiality. I thought that was a thing.
It's supposed to exist.
Like, I thought it was like against HIPAA or something. Like,
Exactly. It's
Remember,
all against HIPAA laws.
that was broken when the pastor brought her up in front of the congregation and told her
girl.
business. So we're way past that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You ain't, and okay, this is gonna sound bad. My bad. Excuse me. I'm thinking like, man, that poor girl. She didn't got humiliated. First of all, she got pregnant and she ain't even get the full experience. I'm like, dang, sis. Like, my bad. I'm sorry for you. But then she gets pregnant. And then she has to go in front of the church, but she doesn't even get the full experience. I mean, according to this doctor, the whole thing didn't even really happen. Do you see where I'm kind of going with that? Like,
yes, it's like her. I just she's forced in front of the church.
She's forced, and she didn't. I mean, like, I'm sorry.
I don't know.
I mean, like, I'm like, if I gotta go through all that, I want the full experience. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny. Okay, maybe I don't mean to be very callous about it, but I'm like, if you gonna bring me up to the church and shame me, like, I want the whole experience. Like, we just fooling around, kissing, and something happens, and now I'm pregnant. I mean, no, I'm sorry. Like, that's not fair. Like, that's not fair. Sorry.
It's not, but it will also, like, the experience is happening. Mm-hmm. The fear of God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't even do anything, and I'm still pregnant.
Right.
So, if it can happen to her, it most definitely can happen to me. So, like she said, the fear of God is instilled
in full effect.
Okay, let's take it a step further. Also, the way that pastor, pastor father, or father pastor, as she refers to him in the book. Remember, he does this in front of the entire congregation. Now, think about all the little girls that were sitting next to their fathers or whatever in that congregation and looking at this. The dads kind of gave them, looked at them or, had an extra word. to say to them. But
Mm-hmm.
then what about the little boys or the young men in that congregation? As she pointed out, the only person that was scolded in this scenario was the girl. The boy was nowhere to be found, nothing mentioned of him. His parents are not quitting their jobs
Mm-hmm.
because he got a girl pregnant. So all of the shame goes on to, once again, the girls.
The girls and the women. That's a great point.
It is. And then for Dr. Chris, when this is happening, she looks up to her parents or looks at her, over at her parents um for a sense of safety, and she doesn't get it.
And then when the mom is breaking down what's going on, there's no kind of nuance. There's no kind of like empathy, like baby girl, I mean, I know
No.
this may have happened to her like this, but and kind of gave her a little bit more information. And like you said, I mean, they're basically just like when Sheen, when you were talking about like the boys and the little girls or the dads, most likely the conversation in the car or the conversation at home or or that look at those little girls like, all right, this can happen to you. You know what I mean? That
Or
already
it better
condemning
not
them.
happen to you,
Right.
because I just won't expose you in front of the congregation.
Mm-hmm.
I'll expose you in front of the world.
Mm.
But even then, imagine if her parents, and I don't know if she has she mentioned before that no, she has a sister.
The
She
sister
has a
and a
sister
Imagine
and
if
a
brother.
brother,
Dr.
remember?
Chris,
Yeah, older brother and a younger sister. Yeah.
that's right.
Right.
Do you think that if her older brother got a girl pregnant around this girl's age, or if we're looking at not even her parents but the father pastor, if he had a son his daughter's age and he got her pregnant, do you think that he would have quit his job and went up on stage and said, I can no longer be a pastor or do any of that?
No, I actually don't. In
Of
fact,
course not.
I,
No.
I think that if he would have brought the boy up there, it would have went something like, "My son was weak. Y'all pray for him." It would have went something like that. If he would have even brought him up there to even tell it the congregation what happened.
This temptress just took him under her spell,
Mm-hmm.
and now, and the devil comes in many forms.
Mm-hmm.
This form he came with breast.
Well,
So yeah, like you said, we getting into it. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah. And she would have been referred to as little Jezebel.
right, right. Mm-hmm. Who plotted, just like we were talking about Eve and the apple,
Adam and Eve. Yep.
who plotted and brought that nice young God-fearing man down and seduced him. Oh yeah, yeah. I
Well,
think
what this was around the 80s. I agree with you, Jezebel, but also for those that might have been, up on maybe a little bit of slang, fast tail heifer
comes to mind.
might have all would have came to mind too as well. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
but either way, and the boy would not have been ostracized like that in front of everybody. No
Or
way.
shamed. Or
No way.
shamed. The fault would have been taken completely off of him and put on to the fast tail heifer. And how she was weak, and y'all just put hands on him and pray for him, and he can come back to, or maybe they would have baptized him again, who I don't know, but he wouldn't have been shamed like the daughter. I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. Now, the funny thing, so she goes into like this Scarlet Letter experience, but to kind of move it along, she also talks about her being on this, in air quotes, plantation, because again, she's starting to get in this reckoning. She's starting to, see these layers, right? Okay, so now I'm starting on page 116. So we're already scooting through. And let me know if there's something in the other pages that you ladies wanted to touch on? And if not, I'm going to go ahead and just knock this on out. So on page 116, she says that I could have stayed on this plantation forever. And again, this plantation is like basically her career, this church, everything. Because all of these things were kind of wrapped together. She says, I could have stayed on this black plantation forever, but the sacred black feminine beckoned me through the voice of Chaniqua Walker Barnes. In her book, Too Heavy a Yoke, Black Women and the Burden of Strength, Walker Barnes showed me that my specific attempts to gain access to the white male God's terrifying circle of acceptability was one of the ways that white male God maintains control of black women. I thought that was interesting because that's so layered for so many reasons. But then she goes into saying, in her book, Walker Barnes expertly shows that the strong black woman identity was initially introduced by the leaders of the Black racial uplift movement at the turn of the 20th century as a way to combat the insidious stereotypes that have plagued black women since we were forcibly brought to America. The asexual and happily oppressed mammy, the sexually promiscuous and manipulative Jezebel, as we spoke about earlier, and the sharp-tongued and emasculating Sapphire. Walker Barnes writes, this required the suppression and denial of any weakness, shortcomings, or vulnerabilities that may conform or underscore racial stereotypes. Ultimately, the goal wasn't achieved. The mammy, Jezebel, the Sapphire stereotypes remained alive and well in white male God's world today. Meanwhile, the strong black woman identity, which at first glance seems like a positive identity, has wreaked havoc on black women's emotional, physical, spiritual, and relational health. By contorting ourselves into the strong black woman identity, we silence our divine black female humanity with its glorious strengths and vulnerabilities. Not surprisingly, silencing our humanity hurts us. And throughout the book, Walker Barnes presents overwhelming research showing that the strong black woman identity is associated with exhaustion, obesity, addiction, anxiety, and non-reciprocal relationships. Thought that was really interesting. Before I move on, did anybody want to kind of touch on that, or did you want me to keep moving, or?
I'm good. You can keep moving for me.
Cool. She also talks about another novelist, and again, we're on page 118. She says, but as Sue Monk Kidd teaches us, who's the novelist Sue Monk Kidd, teaches us patriarchal religion controls us by convincing us that the earth is flat. That if we sail off towards the unknown spiritual horizon, we will just fall off the earth. But the truth is that the earth is round, and when we sail toward the unknown, we don't fall off. Instead, we come full circle, stronger, wiser, and more connected to unconditional love than ever. I was thinking when she wrote that part how scary that kind of may have to be, and how she kind of already padded that fear by talking about how when she says when we come full circle, stronger, wiser, and connected, because it's like she's almost trying to leave everything that she knows. You know, this is like her life, her church, her religion, her career. That had to be really scary. But I liked how, you know, why she didn't really go into and say it, but she kind of laid it out about like walking into your fear, that, you know, once you've been taught one thing, which is, like I said, her career, her life, this was all wrapped together, that when you venture off to challenge those theories or challenge what you grew up believing, that, you know, sometimes, or you may find yourself better in the end. So I really liked how she went on and kind of padded that, even though she didn't really talk about the fears, she kind of went on and quilted that for us moving forward. Because then she moves on, and for YouTube's purposes, when it says severing my career as Christianity's house, we're going to say ninja. Severing my career as Christianity's house ninja. And she goes back to talking about this plantation. In fact, She calls it Little Plantation on the Prairie. She talks about this example in 2017 when she presented with a chance to make another escape when the white president of an enormous Christian seminary called her and asked her for her help. So it sounds like she's going into a lot of these examples of basically saving white people. She said that's basically what her career was. That she would kind of swoop in like Captain Save a White Man or something, and she would either do lectures or smooth some things out. And it sounds like in this case, she says, and I'm on page 119, it had been had highly publicized that the vast majority of white Christians have voted for racist, misogynist Trump. Because again, this is 2017. And now the world's worst kept secret, the majority of white Christians are racist and misogynistic, was out. So it sounds like this this pastor, he says, he was calling because he wanted me and a handful of others to co-author the book with him. He needed help cleaning up his mess. The white person, the white Christian man says, "Will you join me in fighting back and setting the record straight?" He probed. And he says, and she says, though I'm not a white Christian and this wasn't my mess to clean up, I wasn't surprised by his request. I spent the past 10 years cultivating a large public platform in the Christian world. And as a black woman, I didn't achieve that kind of success without cleaning up a lot of white people's mess. She goes on and talks about how it's a good living. She says it's a good living. And on the surface, there's quite a bit of money and power in being a modern day house ninja. And again, she equates this to this plantation. She talks about how she says that, oh, it may seem laboring in the big house it's better than picking tobacco out in the sun-drenched field. But at the end of the day, neither house ninja nor field ninja is free. She even ends this chapter on the last page by saying, so, in response to the seminary president's invitation to clean up white people's mess yet again by contributing to his book, she says she put on her Boss noise-canceling headphones, paid for that house ninja money, pressed play on her Boy by Christianity Spotify playlist, and then started singing Big Sean. We all know the song. And she said, while I sent the seminary president an email saying no with a capital N. So it sounds like we said, and like I said, we'd be able to wrap this up really quick, that Dr. Chris is on her breakthrough, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
She is, but it still opens my eyes to what I've always said, and just like, if we didn't hold on to the almighty dollar and we could stand in unity, we would be much farther along in life than where we are now. And when I say we, I'm speaking as, of us as a whole, the race. Because a lot of the times we make decisions based off of, if I say something or if I do something, if I make a stand, this is going to affect my livelihood. Yeah. And because of that, a lot of us don't say anything. And I automatically go back to Kaepernick and the fear of, if every black person or every person that wanted to join in to take a stance, had they done it in unity across the board, we'd be better off. Like, I think no one stood beside each other because it's thinking, I got my family to take care of. I don't want to mess up my money coming in. But she finally got to the point of, no, I'm no longer doing this. And she saw the ramifications from it, where she lost social media followers, but then she also says, I'm okay with that.
That'd be pretty scary, though.
Of course it's scary.
Yeah.
But also, like, with this, self-revelation over, her job, is it really a self-revelation, or are we just finally just being honest? Because, like,
we're just finally being honest.
That's it.
just throwing that back. I mean, isn't that both? Because isn't that like the beginning of the reckoning, though? To be honest, or to pull that mirror up on yourself.
I mean, but you didn't know that this is what your job was. Like, come on, you can't be. Think about some of the topics
Yeah.
or some of the, messages, emails, and some of the personalities
Mm-hmm.
that she's encountered and agreed to take, for speaking engagements, paid speaking engagements.
Yeah.
Like, I know you have to know some of these jokers and what you're walking into. Come on, there's no way that you don't know a little bit of, have an inkling about something now. Let's start. So that's why I'm saying, is it really, or is it a self-discovery, or are we just now being honest about, all right, yeah, I've been taking a money too.
The way I see it is we're finally looking in the mirror and we're seeing ourselves for who we are. And I can no longer live with this.
Yep.
Man, that's scary. I mean,
and keep in mind, she's not the first person.
Right. That's true.
Shoot, as many of these jokers out here that have been doing it before we were even born.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Way before we were even born. You gonna always what I always be saying, man. Same shit, different toilet.
Right.
Y'all, I mean, come on. This is just a new generation and a new way on how these opportunities are being, or I don't even want to say opportunities, how basically people are turning this situation into opportunities for themselves. And forget about it, with social media now and everybody now being able to have their own platform and to do anything and say anything that they want. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. And even with her, it stood out, like, even with that speaking engagement where she was flown out to Nashville.
Yeah.
She had the entire time to say no and to turn around and just not do this, but she chose to move forward with it because they told her, we don't have anyone to come pick you up, and she gets there and everybody's standing around not doing anything.
Right.
And instead of her saying, I'm not going to move forward, she goes through with it.
And makes a joke.
Yes, and exactly. She brings sarcasm into it.
Why even leave the airport at that point? Because you wanted that bread.
Exactly. The almighty dollar.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, like she said it was a good living. She said,
"Oh, I don't doubt that, Jack."
Exactly. I don't take it away from her at all.
She said when there was retreats, she pulled out the plastic, and she was able to book it. She ain't say I had to think about my bill. She didn't say I had to, I got to move some stuff around. My bill's coming up. It's the first of the month. No, when she was talking about her binge eating and these retreats came, she pulled out the plastic and said, I'm going. She ain't had to call the boss and say, I'm going to be gone for a couple weeks. So with this, that's kind of, I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying.
Like, if the almighty dollar is causing you to have eating issues.
Right.
I'll leave that alone. I'm not gonna say anymore. I'll leave it alone because that's triggers.
I know where you're going with that, Debbie. And you're not wrong. Y'all not wrong.
You feel me? Okay.
Man. But I think out of all of the examples of the white male God, though, that she talks about, this was the biggest one to me. Because all of this, like you said, was wrapped with money, religion, career, I hate to say status, but like she said, she had a nice big following. Out of all of the examples, when she talked about like her dad and all this, like this was the biggest example of white male God to me. Out of all of the chapters,
And it was for me too, because I was like, okay, now I see where the white male God came from, because
Mm-hmm.
that's who your pastor was. We're not just talking about your daddy,
Right.
but his beliefs that he's picked up from the white male God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This was an eye-opening chapter for me.
Yeah,
Like,
I would agree.
yes.
I agree as well.
Yeah, because she also, at this point, I think, if it wasn't in 7, it was in 8, where she actually admitted to where finally was able to admit that she came from an abusive home.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she also, I think,
So,
I'm sorry. Yeah, and I think she
no, I
also,
was just saying that.
oh, I'm sorry. And she also, I can't remember if she admitted it in 7 or 8 when she even brought her dad into it, talking about that how she was vying for his validation and
Yeah.
random
Yep.
dudes.
Yep.
Yeah.
But she's hinted at that in a couple of chapters
Yeah.
You
on
think?
her,
Mm-hmm.
really fighting and vying for her dad's attention
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
and wanting and longing for, his approval on basically everything in her life. So this is kind of like just a continuation of it, but I think this is the first time that we're actually hearing about her saying she no longer cares about her father's, what her father, about her approval of her. She's going to stop living for that and start living more for herself.
Right. No, that's a great point. Great point. I'm here for it. I'm happy for her because that's a lot. Because I think the one thing that we kept on touching on in the beginning of this book is that if you don't know, you don't know that you need to know. You know, so if you're brought up in this religion, your parents,
Mm-hmm.
your this is what your parents is indoctrinating you to, and this is all you know as a child. Growing, I mean, you're already fasting at age of 5. Like it wasn't looking good for Dr. Chris. So to have these leaps and bounds, no matter how long it kind of took, or the the reckoning she had to have, or the mirror she had to look into, that's a lot. Especially if she could have had, because I think either Toya or one of you ladies was talking about how we were talking about the dad, and when the dad, his attitude could have been, I've gotten this much doing it this way, so why would I stop? You know what I mean? Like I'm already a pastor of a church. I done went to Yale. I got my family.
Exactly.
Like what?
Exactly.
Like obviously I'm doing something good if I have all this. And Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, she again going to a great school, making a lot of good money. Like it would it's impressive that she doesn't also have that mentality. I've accomplished this much by doing it this way. For her to make this switch up or to kind of walk through this journey is very impressive.
I know that we've had like, all of our opinions on kind of like the book.
Yeah.
I will give her a whole lot of credit for actually even seeking out help.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because
I
that's
agree
hard
with
to
that.
do.
Great point.
To, go out there and actively ask for help.
Great point.
Um, so she deserved, like a whole lot of credit for, at least doing that. But I don't even have a but for that. She's actually trying to go out there and seek help.
Yeah.
Is her help though for things that she's looking to seek help for? How many of those things did she already know?
Mm.
Kind of like a all money isn't good money situation.
Right.
You
Yeah,
need
and
to give me.
that's the way I see it, Sheen, is like you're seeking help. I think she knew it. She knew the wrongs, yet she still went with it. And it took with the continuous injustices
Mm.
to
Mhm.
really open her eyes to what was going on.
Oh.
Like she knew it,
Mm-hmm.
but it took these instances to happen, being at the forefront and being engaged with her students
That's a good point.
Yeah, exactly.
was the whole eye opener for her, and for her to like, okay, now here we are. Let's just start with no. I'm no longer going to do this.
It's a good
And
point.
prior to this, I'm sorry, how many of these speaking engagements, like, was it every single one of them that you did not know?
Oh,
This is, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
They're
remember,
asking
she
me to
knew
speak on
because
your behalf. You know what I mean? Like, on some
she knew because remember
dehumanizing
they were
stuff.
going back. They were going against her,
Exactly.
challenging her
Oh yeah.
because of who she was.
Mm-hmm.
I
That's
mean, let's keep it real, man. Being kind of like and this is kind of like her role. I look at it being the black friend role can be very profitable,
mm.
but also you got to understand it could be a very dehumanizing role.
Mm-hmm.
Tokens
Mm-hmm.
get spent. Tokens get spent every day. You right on that. You right on that, Sheen. Like it's a fine line between being useful and being disposable.
I mean, so yeah, this I will say that chapter 7 and chapter 8 by far were kind of like the better chapters that we've read so far in this book because it just opened up a whole lot more.
I think we're probably looking at it the same and saying that 7 and 8 is fine. It's like, okay, so she's no longer naive.
Breakthrough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's finally seeing the light.
The mirror is got clean. She wiped off. She put some Windex
Yeah,
on it. She's looking in it. She's even singing Big Sean.
yeah. She's
So
stepping outside of the life that she was placed into.
right, right. Well, I'm excited for her. I'm also excited that
Yeah.
we hopefully we can knock out chapter 9 and 10 because ladies, we are almost done. Oh my god. We can knock this off the list. Thank you, Dr. Chris, for your insight. And I think we can go ahead and announce, but I think that, we've all come together and talking about Kennedy Ryan. So now we just got to pick that. So announcement. The next book is going to be Kennedy Ryan's book. We just got to pick the right book. I definitely will tell you, everybody, before we get the book so that you'll know. But we are almost at the end of this book. We're on, and like I said, next week, hopefully we'll knock out chapter 9 and 10. I've been trying to step up my game. How you ladies read so fast? I'm barely making it. How are you ladies doing it? My goodness. Is this effortless for you to get through the 2 chapters really quickly?
Not not really that hard for me. If I have time on the train when I'm trying to get to work, I'll go on ahead and break it out.
Yeah.
But also just kind of like read a few pages here and there before I go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And um, I know I did break routine, so I was on a flight last weekend, so was just able to read it and get through it on one of the flights.
That's what's up.
Yeah. My challenge has been not reading ahead to complete the book
We
because
know.
I don't want to. Hush. I don't want to read ahead and bring up subjects before we actually.
Did I lose you?
No, I was
Yeah,
saying I
Oh,
just didn't
okay.
want to read ahead. That's my challenge of reading ahead and then bringing up something that we haven't even gotten to yet. So that's my challenge. Yeah.
yeah, I'm getting kind of antsy too, seeing like how we are almost done with the book. So, but I feel confident. Yeah, I can get done with chapters 9 and 10 by
Cool.
next week.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, ladies,
Yep. Definitely.
well, I appreciate your time. Thank you guys for knocking this on out with us. Again, we're almost wrapping this book up. And everyone, you guys have a good night. Appreciate you.
Thank
Thank
you. You
you. Y'all have
too.
a great week.
You too. Bye.
Okay. Bye.